Good morning. Happy Tuesday. It's your girl, the beauty influencer, and it's 8:30. It means it is time for a little tea and wild thoughts. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome. And I'm getting the vibe right as I always do. While I do that, I am going to do a little bit of housekeeping. I also put this conversation on YouTube, so if you are watching this later on, thank you for being here. Please like, share, subscribe. We love that. Always leave your comments. Of course, you're welcome to join this live conversation. I actually didn't put the conversation on YouTube last week because I forgot. So that just gives you an incentive to add me here on Instagram. I'm also gonna show you a few products from my store, the self-care store. I've got my chakra spray, which is amazing. Maze ball smells absolutely lovely. Gets all your vibes right. We got the body butter. Good morning. None of this stuff is labeled because I do all this shit myself. And yeah. Got sample sizes now too. So you guys check that out on the website. There's a new website, thebeautyinfluencer.org. Sign up for the mailing list. And yeah, drinking a little bit of red raspberry tea this morning. We just got off the full moon. The ladies know the moon cycle. So red raspberry is good for your female system. Also mixed with a little bit of Irish moss. So you can Google those. Find out about how to stay well and all that good stuff. Okay, so we are talking about August Alsina this morning. And, you know, of course, I am a free thinker. I'm not about drama. When we talk about tea, you know, tea and wild thoughts, this is about wild and free thinking. So we're not going to get into too much drama, but I do want to use this as a template, kind of like a catalyst to talk about just the depths of free love, you know, and the maturity and all that good stuff. So we're going to go ahead and get into it. So I decided to go ahead and watch the whole interview. I'm so glad that I did because me, like most people, you know, we see these memes and things online and, you know, you just kind of make that core judgment without really knowing the depths of the story. And again, I try to stay out of drama, so it just seemed very drama filled. But I'm glad that I watched the whole video. I'm glad that I did. He also has a documentary that's coming out in an album, so of course he's promoting that. Angela Yee is also not my favorite journalist, you know, but it is what it is. So my original thoughts were that, you know, him speaking on it was just a straight bitch move. I did not approve of that. I don't like kissing and telling. I think that's really immature. I thought that was super whack. You know, just super whack for him just going off like that and telling all their business. I mean, just not cool. Again, as a free thinker, I believe in free love. To me, it's like this is a mature situation. A lot of people don't understand, you know, what Will and Jada do. And at the end of the day, do they need our approval? No, it's their life, you know, so that's something that he signed up for. You know, I don't see him as any type of victim. Yes, he's a little younger than Jada, you know, but he knew what it was. You know, if him saying that Will Smith and him had a conversation about it, it means that you willingly went into this situation knowing exactly what was going to go. Well, you didn't know how it was going to end, but you know how it's going to go. So you know what you're signing up for. You know what the consequences could be. And I just thought it was whack for him to, you know, just be speaking on it publicly. However, when I watched the whole interview, I did find that was just one snippet of all of what he's talking about. I thought that the interview was pretty good because he was really exploring a lot more of his pain and dealing with heartbreak and dealing with, you know, a relationship that, with someone that he really, really loved. And he went in depth, into how this really affected him, affected his health, affected his mental health. And this was layered, with things that happened in his childhood. So in that documentary, which he goes into, I'm not trying to just super plug August Alsina, but just giving you some depth in case you want to check out the interview yourself. It definitely is just this representation of a black man exploring. Yes, you got this situation with Will and Jada, and it's what they call a hot button, issue. It's something that, people want to know about. Everybody likes the tea, the drama. But I like the fact that the conversation really went into exploring his healing, black family structures, I'm all about that. So, still believe in free love. I don't think it was a testament of him pointing the finger saying that anybody did anything wrong. He made it very clear that he really loved these people. But taking the context just off of him and them specifically, I truly believe that these levels of relationship, when we're coming out of just the general structure of, just man and woman, traditional marriage, traditional relationship, these types of relationships are really for mature people. And I don't mean that just being older. I mean that being emotionally mature, mentally mature, and being able to handle the depths of it. So what we see on that side is really the downside of it. We weren't hearing everything about it when they were all in love and they were feeling great. Clearly everything was kept under wraps and everything was cool. So it's unfortunate, that we have to see him and them, him, because he's really the one who's decided to air it out publicly. So, if that is not, if you're not mature enough to kind of get into a situation like that, don't advise that you do it. Not a good look. So yeah, don't agree with him airing out publicly at all, but as I listen, I can understand the relationship being a vehicle for him to explore himself in a deeper way. So yesterday I posted a video on my page from Maston Kemp, good morning, who I really enjoy his content. He's always giving these like huge light bulb moments for me anyway. White guy, but pretty aware. I like, the things that he puts out. And he was talking about holding space for that. Relationships are really just kind of these vehicles, again, for us to hold space for each other in our traumatized parts, that we find healing in our romantic relationships. And that is really the base of what they're for. And that is something that really, really resonates with me. Again, I think society paints this picture real quick that we're gonna find, the one, and it's all gonna be perfect, and all our flaws are gonna disappear, and this person, we just find the perfect person. And that's another reason why I truly advocate and believe in, again, free thinking. When I say free love, it doesn't have to fall into any one form. We are people who have all been through so many different things, especially us as Black people. Our family structure was broken just because of colonization and things that, we had absolutely no control over. So, yeah, there's no telling, what type of relationships and what structures we're going to need to rebuild and really find that healing within each other. And again, just looking at August Alsina, and I don't know all the details, I just know that particular interview, but I did hear that Jada was a big part of, introducing him to some higher vibration thinking, And yeah, you find people on the level that you're on. I truly believe too. I mean, I don't think that, and again, these are just my free thoughts. Feel free to share. I don't require that people agree with me, but whenever you have people who have even been abused, like let's say physical abuse in a relationship, they tend to vibrate towards people who are abusers. Like you always find the same vibrations. And I think that as we grow, as we evolve, if we're growing, if we're evolving, it's perfectly normal, rational, reasonable to meet different people at different stages of that evolution. And I don't think that the traditional American structure allows for that. So again, when we are looking at something like Will and Jada and people just talking out the side of their mouth about these people's decision to have this partnership, I think it's beautiful what they've decided to do. Of course, I don't know the depths of it. I don't know how it affects their children and their family structure completely. But they've decided to be partners and to just not separate, regardless of them being able to explore other romantic relationships. And I personally think that's pretty cool. A lot of people are exploring outside of these traditional relationships anyway. Even in this traditional structure, and I'm not even going to get into patriarchy and that whole thing and how this is the concept of that allows men to explore. But on the flip side, if a woman does the same, society wants to jump all over her. And that was another, I guess it just depends on kind of like your timeline and how it's curated. But I didn't like about this situation with August and Jada that people really kind of victimized him and villainized Jada. Traditionally, just in history, from Eve all the way down, in the Bible, it paints women as if, and if you've been following me for a while, you know that I'm a huge advocate for women as a whole, specifically Black women. That it just paints us that we have to be these perfect people. There's so much pressure on us, and that we have to be so saintly and pure. And yeah, maybe Jada wanted her a little piece on the side. I mean, there's lots of women who desire men outside of their relationships. And of course, I'm not going to name any names, but again, when I was doing makeup full time, I had plenty of women who sat in my chair and told me lots of stories of things they were doing outside their marriages. Women desire to be wanted, to be loved, to be... There's more to it than just men providing for them financially. Women are human beings, full circle, and just because a man chose you, just like Will chose Jada, as if, there was like what does she bring to the table? Yeah, so, she should, I think it's cool, actually, that, this provokes this conversation of what does free love really look like, and how are people going about exploring this? I hate, again, that Jada had to be looking like the villain in the situation. But it is what it is. The reality is there is no relationship structure that is pain proof. It's just not. With love comes vulnerability. Even free love, comes vulnerability. It comes with pain, and that's something that he talked about in the interview as well, that he had never had his heart broken like that before, and that he still loves these people. He still loves their family. He still, he doesn't look down on them, but what he had to walk away from was really just starting to affect his whole sense of self, his whole well-being, his health, and how he even was breaking down, and I've talked about this a lot, how your emotions can literally start to filter into the organs in your body. He's dealing with some type of disease or disorder that attacked his whole nervous system. And so, when we talk about things like depression, anxiety, this stuff is real, man. This stuff is so real, and it can be as simple. When you're experiencing it, you don't know. You don't know until you know. That something like a heartbreak can really, just tear your body apart. So again, I was just really glad that was a part of the dialogue they were having. And I do encourage you guys to check out the full interview. Because again, on the surface, we want to make these quick judgments about, how August should behave, or how Jada or anybody should behave, and why aren't they saying anything and whatever. But again, I love conversations. I love dialogue, and it always helps to have more perspective and more information on that. Society shapes so many ideas around what's acceptable and what is often unreasonable or unrealistic. And again, once we start just having more conversation, we start to see that, we're all really the same. We really just want to be loved. We really just want to be healed. And a lot of the decisions that we make now, just have started so long ago. They started in our childhood. They started way before we started making any type of choices. It's shaped. And so many of us have experienced trauma, or all of us. I'm just go ahead and say that every single one of us have experienced trauma that we may or may not be aware of. And so we're just moving along in the world, trying to, that's part of what Maston Kip was saying in that post yesterday as well, that, whether it's us going out trying to make $1 million, or us, making really high grades on the test, or we're all looking for that approval. We're all looking for that love in some type of way. Something that we didn't get in our childhood. And that's not to blame it on anybody. Our parents are not perfect people either. They've had to have their healing. And so that's why I also just, again, I'm such an advocate in talking about the Black family structure, because we just have a different element mixed in there. That we just had absolutely no control over. And it was very damaging, and it's in our DNA. So, again, when we look at, Will and Jada, we look at their kids. I used to say a while ago, too, that, when we look at their children, we really see free Black kids, and America has had a lot to say about the way that they raise their children and the way these children have come out. They seem to be doing really great to me. But do we even know what real free, like mentally and emotionally free Black kids really look like? I don't think we had anything to even compare that to. So I think what they doing is cool. Ain't my life, I'm not having sex with either one of them. So, it's really not for me to judge in any way, and not for y'all to judge either. Good morning, Asia. So yeah, although it was messy, I support August's exploration and the conversations it is provoking about love and healing and Black families. Good morning. It's necessary. It's definitely necessary. Good morning. Black men getting their heart broken. I think that's another conversation. That's another conversation. And I'm, he took on 3 children, his sister's 3 children who passed away. Was just talking about trauma, and again, just talking about saving some space there for his own healing and his own diving through it just to make sure that we're not just codependent. What are we talking about this morning? We are talking about August Alsina and Jada and that whole situation, and how it equates into talking about free love and just loving relationships that aren't particularly traditional, that don't just exist in traditional marriage. So when you talk about August, you have no choice but to talk about Will and Jada. And it's just interesting, the conversations that it's been provoking across the board. I highly recommend everybody, again, just look at the whole interview before you even make any type of judgment. I was saying earlier that I definitely made my judgment in the beginning, just like all human beings. I thought that him sharing all their business was kind of a bitch move. And I still don't believe in kissing and telling. I don't think that part was absolutely necessary, that he had to share certain details. His choice. But again, when we're talking about these relationships that start to swerve outside of what is traditional, you definitely got to have a level of emotional and mental maturity, to enter into that and to deal with the consequences, even when they don't work out. And I guess you need that in traditional relationships too. I mean, I'm not saying that you don't, but anytime, freedom always requires, a lot of strength. Freedom ain't free. Like, it takes being able to stand on something that's a little less solid. When society is not approving and backing up everything that you do, you gotta be able to withstand, everything that society's gonna say against you. Because they're gonna say it. It's gonna be weird. They're not used to what you're doing. So you gotta be ready for that resistance. And that's across the board, not just in relationships. Free thoughts, free thinking, free love, whatever it may be. So, I think that's something that we're also exploring too, just as Black people, is really this concept of being free. Definitely a bitch move. My thought is that it's nobody's business. Agreed. But again, I will recommend that you check it out. Check out the interview, at least 30-40 minutes of it, so that you can get the whole spectrum, because it definitely was one of those situations where you get a snippet of the interview and everybody runs with that, and it definitely had a lot more depth to it. So I was glad that I watched it. Did my little research before I got on here. He's just talking about exploring Black pain, and heartbreak, in that relationship. And just kind of telling his side of the story. Yeah. It is what it is. So I'm going to share my wild thoughts of the day. Oftentimes people want you to be normal because they are too scared to be your type of different. That's what society does, is it shapes us in a way that it's like, be normal, be like us, and there are tons of people, again, who want to do things and have desires, have different, again, just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean you're not attracted to someone else, doesn't mean you don't want someone else, you don't desire someone else. It's natural. These things are natural, but society shapes us in a way that says, don't be different. Don't talk about that. Don't shake that tree. So, when you start doing things to shake the tree, you can expect, again, some rejection, some resistance, and it just proves, how strong you are and need to be. And it's challenging. People. It's hard. Even, when I first started doing this conversation and getting up here sharing my thoughts. It's taken quite some time. Good morning. It's taken quite some time to just be able to learn how to speak freely and be okay with, the fact that people may not agree. They think differently. And a lot of times people do either agree or think differently. They just have a hard time, co-signing. And I have a lot of private conversations. I always say, my DMs are open. After this, I look forward to us when the world opens back up, having live conversations in person. Because I just think it's all about dialogue. It's not about agreement, it's about just really understanding that there are perspectives out there that exist that just aren't our own and aren't necessarily popular. And we've all had experiences that just shape us and make us exactly who the hell we are. And that's okay, whoever that is. I would say all you can do is welcome somebody into your experience. Share it with them, And they don't like them. They don't like it. That's their business. So I hope that August continues to, again, find that healing. Support the young brother. Got some growing to do. But don't we all? So let's not be so quick to judge. Because also when we're judging someone, we're ultimately judging ourselves. This is a different world. Every day. And we never know what we're gonna find, what's gonna influence these changes. So my advice is always to look for the beauty. It's always there to be found, even in the ugliest of things, even in this situation where this young man, his heart broke down, honey. Broke all the way down. But there's beauty there, that he's really able to explore himself and use this story to share in a way that hopefully will help a lot of other young brothers, do the same thing. A lot of people either have done and most definitely thought about it. Doing it. How about that? Doing it. So again, hopefully done it. Yes, absolutely. Hopefully people, I just encourage, these conversations more and more all the time. So that is today's Tea and Wild Thoughts. If you didn't get to catch the whole conversation, I will be posting this on my YouTube. I also post this here on IGTV. Try to share it as many places as possible, and also would welcome you to share with others. Have your own conversations. Again, my DMs are open. Check out the self-care store. There's a link in my bio to my websites, products. I got a lot coming, guys. There's just a lot going on. Your girl is flourishing. What can I say? So I hope everybody has an amazing Tuesday. God willing, I will see you next week, Tuesday, 8:30. God knows what we'll be talking about, because we'll see what the rest of the week brings. So have a beautiful day, guys. I'll holler at you later.